We all have a vision of who we want to be, an ideal version of ourselves that we aspire to become. This vision might involve being healthier, more productive, or achieving a sense of balance in our lives. It could also mean being more connected with loved ones, nurturing relationships that matter. We can see this ideal version of ourselves in our minds, almost like a vivid picture. However, there's often a gap between this aspirational self and who we are in our day-to-day lives, a gap that can seem daunting. This gap can feel frustrating, like a constant reminder of our perceived shortcomings. It can make us question our ability to change, to grow, and to become the person we envision. Don't worry, this is a common human experience. You're not alone in feeling this way. Understanding why this gap exists is the first step toward bridging it, toward making meaningful progress. Many factors contribute to this gap between our aspirations and our reality, including our habits and routines. One significant factor is our brain's natural wiring, which has evolved over thousands of years. Our brains are wired to conserve energy, to take the path of least resistance. They prefer familiar patterns and resist change, making it challenging to adopt new behaviors. This resistance is not a sign of weakness or lack of willpower. It's simply a survival mechanism that has served us well for millennia, helping us to survive and thrive. Imagine your brain as a dense jungle, with every thought and action carving a path through it. Every thought, every action carves a path through this jungle, creating a network of trails. The more you repeat a thought or action, the more established that path becomes, turning into a well-trodden trail. Over time, these paths turn into superhighways of ingrained habits and routines, making them second nature. We rely on these well-worn paths because they require less effort, providing a sense of ease. They provide a sense of comfort and predictability, which our brains crave. Breaking free from the gravitational pull of these ingrained pathways can feel like an uphill battle, a true test of will. It demands effort, focus, and a willingness to venture off the beaten path, to explore new possibilities. But the rewards are well worth the journey, bringing us closer to our ideal selves. By understanding how our brains work, we can start to work with them, not against them, to create lasting change and bridge the gap. Our brains love efficiency. They are wired to seek out the path of least resistance, always looking for ways to conserve energy and effort. This love for efficiency is rooted in a primal need to conserve energy. From the earliest days of human existence, conserving energy was a matter of survival. For our ancestors, energy conservation was crucial for survival. Every action, every movement had to be calculated to ensure that energy was not wasted. In a world of scarce resources and constant threats, wasting energy could mean the difference between life and death. This ingrained behavior has been passed down through generations. This ancient wiring still influences us today, even in our modern world, where survival is less about physical threats and more about navigating complex social and professional landscapes. Our brains prefer to stick to what they know. They are comfortable with established routines and familiar tasks. They favor established neural pathways that govern our habits and routines. These pathways are like well-trodden paths in a forest. These established pathways require less energy to fire. They're efficient and reliable, allowing us to perform tasks without much conscious thought. They offer a sense of autopilot that allows our brains to coast through familiar tasks. This autopilot mode is a testament to our brain's efficiency. Think about the last time you drove home from work. The route is so familiar that you can navigate it almost without thinking. You probably don't remember every turn or every stoplight. This is because your brain is operating on autopilot, conserving energy for more demanding tasks. This is your brain's autopilot in action. It's a remarkable feature that allows us to handle routine tasks with minimal effort. While this autopilot mode is helpful for routine tasks, it can become a roadblock when we try to introduce change. New tasks require new pathways. Trying to establish a new habit is like hacking a new path through that dense jungle. It's unfamiliar and requires significant effort. It requires effort, focus, and consistent action. Just like clearing a new path, it takes time and persistence. It's like pushing against the grain of our natural wiring. Our brains resist because it's more energy intensive. This is why change often feels hard. It's a battle against our brain's preference for the familiar and the efficient. We're battling against thousands of years of evolutionary programming. This programming is deeply embedded in our neural architecture. Understanding this resistance is key to overcoming it. Awareness is the first step in making meaningful changes. We need to approach change with compassion for ourselves and an appreciation for how our brains operate. This understanding can make the process less daunting. It's not about fighting our natural wiring, but working with it. By understanding our brain's tendencies, we can create strategies that align with them. We can rewire our brains by consciously creating new pathways and consistently reinforcing them. This process takes time, but is entirely possible. It's about transforming that dense jungle into a well-maintained garden, where new growth is nurtured and celebrated. With patience and persistence, change becomes not just possible, but sustainable. Let's clarify the difference between routines and habits, two words often used interchangeably but with distinct meanings. Understanding this distinction is crucial for effectively creating lasting change. Routines are a sequence of actions regularly followed. They are intentional and require conscious effort. Think about your morning routine. It might involve waking up, brushing your teeth, exercising, and having breakfast. These are deliberate actions you choose to perform in a specific order. Habits, on the other hand, are behaviors that have become automatic through repetition. They occur with little or no conscious thought. These are the actions we perform on autopilot, like buckling our seatbelts or reaching for our phones when we hear a notification. While both routines and habits provide structure to our days, they serve different purposes. Routines bring order and predictability, helping us manage our time and energy effectively. They are the scaffolding that supports our day-to-day lives. Habits, on the other hand, are the building blocks of who we are. They shape our behaviors, influence our decisions, and ultimately determine our outcomes. They are the autopilot programs running in the background, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and actions. The key takeaway here is that routines are conscious choices, while habits are subconscious patterns. To create lasting change, we need to transform our conscious choices into automatic behaviors. This means turning our desired actions into habits so ingrained that they become our default mode of operation. To effectively create new habits, we need to understand how they form. This understanding is crucial because it allows us to take control of our behaviors and make lasting changes in our lives. Habits are not random behaviors we pick up. They are deliberate actions that become automatic over time. They are formed through a neurological loop known as the habit loop. This loop is a powerful mechanism that our brains use to create efficiency. This loop consists of three key components: the cue, the routine, and the reward. Each component plays a vital role in the formation and reinforcement of a habit. The cue is the trigger that initiates the habit. It signals your brain to start the behavior. It can be anything from a specific time of day to an emotional state or even a particular location. These triggers are often subtle but powerful. For example, the cue for your morning coffee habit might be the smell of freshly brewed coffee or simply waking up in the morning. These cues set the stage for the routine to follow. The routine is the actual behavior you perform, the habit itself. This is the action that follows the cue. This could be brushing your teeth, going for a run, or scrolling through social media. The routine is what you repeatedly do in response to the cue. The reward is the positive reinforcement that strengthens the habit. It provides your brain with a reason to remember the loop in the future. This could be the feeling of accomplishment after a workout, the satisfaction of a clean mouth after brushing, or the dopamine hit from liking a post on social media. Rewards are essential for making habits stick. This loop operates on a subconscious level. Once established, it runs automatically without much conscious thought. Over time, as you repeatedly perform a behavior in response to a particular cue, your brain starts to associate the two. This repetition is key to habit formation. This association strengthens the neural pathway connecting the cue, the routine, and the reward, making the habit more automatic. The stronger the pathway, the more ingrained the habit becomes. Understanding the habit loop is like having the blueprint for rewiring your brain. It gives you the tools to change your behaviors intentionally. By consciously identifying the cues, routines, and rewards that shape your existing habits, you can start to modify them or create new ones that align with your goals. This awareness is the first step towards change. You become the architect of your habits, designing them to support your desired outcomes. With this knowledge, you can build a life that reflects your true intentions and aspirations.